You're actually going that far, Jungkook, just because you're believing things that are completely fabricated. You said, looking at him in disbelief, while your tears continuously dropping from your eyes, but you didn't bother to wipe them away. You couldn't believe that the man whom you loved more than anything was now standing in front of you with divorce papers. You took a step closer. He wasn't even looking at you as if it will break him. You were falling apart right in front of him, but he couldn't or wouldn't see it. The man who got panicked seeing you where it was now standing silent, even when you were crying and asking him to believe you. After everything we have been through, all the love we shared, how can you throw it all away on something so baseless? He finally looked at you. There was a mix of pain and frustration in his eyes. Baseless? I wish it could be baseless as you are saying, but it's not baseless, Ryan. My mother saw things. She told me everything. I can't ignore what she's saying, not after seeing the evidence from my own eyes. You let out a bitter laugh, the sound filled with heartbreak. Your mother, the woman who never wanted us to be together. Of course she would say these things. And you are choosing to believe her over me? I'm not believing her just like that, Ryan. I wish it wasn't like that. But seems like I trusted you way too much. Those pictures, those text messages, they weren't fake, were they? You went to the same hotel with him, even stayed in the same room. How can you fool me even after all that? A tear dropped from your eyes. I told you everything, Jungkook. I told you it was a business meeting and unfortunately there was no extra rooms and we did book one room under our names, but I swear he stayed outside. You know everything, then what happened suddenly? He came near you while his hands were trembling as he held the divorce papers. He was equally heartbroken but didn't realize that he was breaking both of you apart in the moment of heat. That's because I know the story that you told me. I only believed you until the truth unfolds in front of my eyes. You are the reason for all this, Ryan. You are the reason I'm standing broken the way I won't be able to heal again. His eyes filled with tears. Then give me time to prove my innocence if you think I'm guilty. But don't take such a big decision, Jungkook, please. You almost begged him. The decision is already made, Ryan. We can't be together anymore. I've signed the papers already. He put the papers on the table and left without taking a second look. You dropped on your knees crying. Before you could even tell him that the family he always dreamed of was about to come true, you were carrying his child, but maybe there was something else written in your fate. 5 years later, you finally left your hair free and set them in professional way before looking at yourself in the mirror one last time. Today was a very special and you can say stressful day it is going to be at work. After the old CEO retired, today finally after a week the new CEO is joining and everyone was nervous. Suddenly your lips curved into a soft smile when you hear a cute little voice. Umma. He came running and hugged your knees while Mrs. Kim, his nanny, came after him. Oh my baby boy, what happened? Why are you running like that, my life? He said, picking him up in your arms and kissing his cheeks. Umma, I don't want to stay home today. You frowned and looked at Mrs. Kim and then at him. But why, my life? It's your holiday today and you always say that you want to stay at home. Then what happened today? Jungsu wants to go with you. You looked at him and he nodded. Is that true? Yes, I want to go with you, Umma, please. You sighed and walked to the bed before sitting on it while your son on your lap looking at you with his doe eyes that never failed to remind you of the painful past. You gently cupped his face, a face that looks exactly like his father's. Not just his face, but all his little habits reminds you of your ex-husband. And no matter how hard you try, you can never truly forget that painful past. I will definitely bring you with me, but not today, my boy. It's going to be a very busy day and I won't be able to look after you. Today stay with Mrs. Kim. She will take you to parks and your favorite rides too. And we'll also go together this Sunday. He shook his head pouting. I will behave, but I don't want to stay here. Please, Oma. I swear I'll be a good boy. You sighed and looked at Mrs. Kim. Jung-soo, listen to mom, baby. He hugged your neck, shaking his head. Either stay with me or bring me with you. I'm not going to stay away from you. Your heart ache, you already feel so guilty for not giving him the time he needs, but you have your reasons. You're the only one who has to take care of yourself and your son, so you can't compromise on your job. Okay, let's go. You said finally giving up. Really? Oma, you're the best. I love you so, so much. You're the best. He said, showering you with kisses while Mrs. Kim also smiled with her teary eyes. You really know how to get your way. Mrs. Kim, please get him ready. Will you be okay? I mean, you nodded, assuring her. There's daycare in my office, so it will be okay. Plus, he might make new friends, right? You said, ruffling your son's hair while he nodded. Mrs. Kim smiled, holding his hand. Let's go, I'll get you dressed. They both left the room while you got up, no matter how many years passed, but that emptiness, the pain of proven wrong, all those allegations that he believed you must be still a cheater in his eyes, but you have learned to stay strong. For yourself, for your son, who is your world now, and he made you so strong that nothing can break you now. Not even your past and those painful memories. After leaving your son in daycare, which was a very thoughtful of the higher ups to provide a daycare and office building for the mothers who works in the company, you came to the floor where you works. You got a bit late. I'm sorry I got late. The CEO is already here. You looked at her surprised. Really? Oh my god. Actually, I was leaving my son in daycare, so it took me a few minutes. I hope he didn't mind. Don't worry, he was here before any of us. Seems like he's very workaholic and punctual. But hey, you brought your son. I'm going to meet that cutie pie. You smiled as Sia is a good friend of you. And did you see how handsome he is? Oh god, I'm already head over heels on him. I just hope he's friendly and cool. I might propose to him. You both chuckled as she started fangirling over the new CEO. As you started your work, CEO's personal secretary came. Miss Wine, CEO wants to meet the team leader of Gangnam project. You nodded, gathering your files as you followed him to CEO's office, a bit nervous. Mark stopped in front of the office and gestured for you to go inside. You smiled and bowed slightly in respect before going in. Your heart was pounding out of nervousness, but the moment you saw the CEO, the figure sitting behind the desk, busy looking at the computer screen. So are you the... Jungkook already started speaking when he felt the presence, but he stopped midway when he finally shifted his eyes from the screen to you. His heart dropped in the same way as yours, but both the situations were different. Your eyes started filling with tears. You believed you had become strong, that your past won't break you anymore, but as soon as you saw him, your heart ached in the same way as years ago when he left you, accusing for something that he believed but was nothing but lies. Your grip on the files loosened and they all dropped on the floor. You quickly wiped your tears and sat on your toes before collecting them. You didn't even want to look at him. Ryan, you didn't reply. You even forgot you were meeting him here professionally. He tried to come near and help, but he stopped, realizing you might not like his presence. Actually, he realized how much of a mistake he made by acting in the heat of the moment, because later, when he decided to find the truth, he found himself guilty. What he believed and what his mother said was all lies. He was wrong, he didn't believe you, and now it takes him a lot of courage to actually stand in front of you. But it was really unexpected. None of you ever thought to cross paths again like this. Fine, Gathering so much courage, he finally spoke, but before that, you got up before leaving the room, leaving the files there. Everyone noticed as you directly went to the washroom. Jungkook picked the files as a tear escaped from his eyes. He was guilty but relieved to finally see you after 5 years. From the moment he came across the truth, every day he punished himself for breaking your heart, for not believing you and for going away from you. You slammed the door shut and grabbed the edges of wash basin as you felt like your legs would give up. Seeing him after all these years, the same man you loved and cherished so much and the same man who divorced you believing in lies, was now your boss. You started crying because no matter how many years passed, a part of you is still connected to him and you can never get away with. Why again? Why when I was trying my best to move on? You slowly dropped on your knees and cried. Wiping your tears, you came back to your cubicle. For personal reasons, you cannot let your professional life affect, but you have already made up your mind that you won't work here. It will never be easy when he'll be in front of your eyes all the time. Ryan, are you alright? She asked, worried, seeing your condition. Yes, thank you. You just sat on your chair, avoiding to look at anyone when a lady from the daycare approached you. Miss Ryan, you turned around as the lady recognized you and approached you, and you noticed your son with her. He was crying. You quickly got up and rushed towards him. Oh, Ma, he said, coming to you while you sat on your knees. What happened, baby? Why are you crying? He hugged you, wrapping his tiny arms around your neck. I'm sorry to disturb you in the middle, but he didn't stop crying and was insisting to meet you. You rubbed his back and then made him look at you. What happened, Jungsu? Why did you cry? Actually, kids were playing and one of them pushed him. He got a little scratch on his knee. You checked his knee and she already put a bandage. You hugged your son. It's okay, my life. You're strong, right? He nodded. Yes, I didn't cry because of this. I cried because I was missing you. Your colleagues who were watching you got emotional and some in awe, but what didn't go unnoticed by them was that they noticed Jungsu looked a bit like the new CEO. It could be a coincidence, they thought, and ignored. Just then Jungkook came out of his office as he was restless from the moment he saw you, and he wanted to see where you are working when he noticed you with a little boy. The moment Jungkook saw the little boy, his heart stopped. The boy looked just like him, like a younger version of himself. He had the same dark hair, the same features, and even the same bright doe eyes when he smiled. It was like looking in a mirror from when he was a kid. Jungkook felt his heart hurt, and so many thoughts ran through his mind. Could it be true? The idea hit him like a shock, breaking through the anger and sadness he had felt for so long. He remembered the day he signed the divorce papers, convinced that you had betrayed him because of things his mother told him. He had believed it and walked away without asking you for the truth. But now, seeing this boy who looked so much like him, he started to doubt everything he thought he knew. Before he could understand his feelings, the boy's voice called out Oma as he tugged at your hand, calling you mom. That word echoed in Jungkook's mind, confirming everything. Oma, this boy, your son had called you mom, which meant Jungkook stumbled a little, his mind racing. If he's your son, then he's my son too. This realization hit him hard, leaving him quiet, filled with a mix of regret and sadness. He thought about all the years he didn't know, all the years he spent feeling angry and hurt, believing something that was not true. His heart ached and he thought about the time he had missed, the moments he never got to have with his son. Okay, now let's go back to the care. You won't cry, right? You said, standing up while Jungsu nodded. I promise I won't cry. As you turned around with Jungsu, ready to head back to the daycare, you stopped abruptly when you saw Jungkook standing in front of you, his eyes fixed on you and the boy holding your hand. The bustling office grew quiet as everyone noticed the CEO, but Jungkook seemed too overwhelmed, too shaken to notice. His gaze shifted from you to Jungsu, and in that moment he looked vulnerable, almost lost. Swallowing, you turned around with Jungsu and walked away. Why? He walked behind you, leaving others in confusion. They all exchanged glances after noticing the tension between both of you. Oma, what happened to you? You are looking worried. Your son asked, noticing. You bit your lip, fighting with your tears, and the thoughts filling your mind. You cupped his face. Oma is fine, my life, and promise me you'll behave and don't come out until I myself came to pick you. He smiled and nodded. I will not disappoint you. You kissed his forehead before getting up. The lady took him inside while you wiped your eyes and turned around. Your heart dropped when you saw Jungkook. His eyes hold so many emotions, but you ignored, brushing past him, but he moved quickly and grabbed your arm. Why, is he my son? You stopped, anger flashed in your eyes as you turned to him. My son, he's my son Jungkook. I gave birth to him. I have been raising him alone. The shock and regret in Jungkook's eyes were undeniable, but you weren't about to let him off easily. You gave up that right when you walked away, believing everything your mother fed you without even giving me a chance to explain. You swallowed, visibly struggling. I didn't know if I had. You cut him off, your voice filled with years of anger and hurt. If you had known that I was pregnant with your child, then you might have changed your mind, right? You let me live with you because I was carrying your child, right? You looked at him in disbelief. He shook his head. I'm sorry, Ryan. I knew what I did was unforgivable. I lived in guilt for all these years. I should have trusted you. If you had trusted me, none of this would have happened. But you didn't, and now, 5 years later, you want answers? You don't get to do that. He looked down, couldn't able to meet your eyes. I know I'm in no position to ask for forgiveness, but Ryan, give me a chance, please. You looked away, trying to control the storm of emotions inside you. Why do you care now, Jungkook? You weren't there when I needed you the most. You made your choice, remember? I didn't know. If I had known about him, He whispered, reaching out as if to touch your arm, but you took a step back. Stop. Your voice broke and you looked down, clenching your fists. You have no idea how many nights I stayed awake, terrified and alone, with no one beside me. You left without even hearing my side, Jungkook. You believed lies and let me go without a single question. He flinched, guilt clear in his eyes. Ryan, I was wrong. I should have trusted you. I know that now, but please, I need to make things right. I need to know him. Let me be there for him. Your heart felt like it was breaking all over again, but you kept your composure. You don't just get to show up and play father whenever it suits you. Do you know what it was like, Jungkook, trying to explain to a child why his dad isn't around? Watching him grow up without you, answering his questions with nothing but empty reassurances. He took a deep breath, his voice trembled. Let me try now, please. I miss so much already. I need to know my son, Ryan. You shook your head, your own anger and heartbreak was spilling out. He's my son. I gave birth to him. I raised him. I was there for every little moment. You weren't there when he took his first steps, said his first words, cried for his dad. You missed it all because you didn't trust me. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears, his voice barely a whisper. I know I can't change what I did. I know I don't deserve it, but please let me at least try. I want to be a father to him. You looked at him, your own tears were blurring your vision. And what happens when you decide to walk away again? When something doesn't go the way you want it to? You swallowed, fighting the ache in your throat. I can't put my son through that. He deserves stability, love. He deserves better than someone who gave up on him before he was even born. The words hit him like a blow, and he took a shaky breath, wiping a tear that slipped down his cheek. Vayan, please, give me a chance. I want to know him. I want to make up for all the years I missed. You shook your head, feeling the weight of years of hurt. You can never make up for that, Jungkook. It's too late. You made your choice. You left me to raise him alone, to carry all that pain on my own. You don't get to just walk back in now that it's convenient for you. Jungkook looked like he wanted to say more, his hand reaching out one last time, but you took a step back. We are done here, Jungkook. I'm done. And with that, you turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, broken as the weight of his choices crashed down around him. As you walked away, Jungkook was left standing there, a painful reminder of the day he had left you years ago. Now he was the one left behind, reaching out as you disappeared from sight with the son he never knew he had. In that moment, he felt the full weight of his choices, realizing too late the emptiness he had left you with years ago. And now, as you walked away to protect the life you had built, Jungkook finally understood what it meant to be left alone, filled with nothing but regret.